Happy Rose Month, and in lieu of that, some rose trivia. The rose is one of the oldest flowers in the world, going back 35 million years. In the 17th century, they were even a form of legal tender. The oldest living rose is over 1000 years old and grows at the Hildesheim Cathedral in Germany. The pink rose is considered the original rose, but there are over 150 varieties now, with the most expensive rose called the Juliet rose, bred by David Austin. It sells for $3 million per plant. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are positive, daring, different. On the show today, explore literature with the jury chair of the 32nd GratiaenPrize, chat with the outgoing chairman of the Colombo Stock Exchange, and explore the depths of silence. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Do subscribe, follow, and like us if you want more of us. Thank you to our amazing partners on the show, Selico Live CDB and The Daily Morning.
She wins with CDB Wings, exclusive financial solutions for women.
And here's our week that was on CDB Snapshot. Good news, Sri Lanka reports a positive GDP growth rate of 4.8% for the first quarter of 2025. Sri Lanka's outstanding credit to the private sector as at end April crosses the 8.5 trillion rupee mark. The IMF's first Deputy Managing Director visits Sri Lanka and ensures that the IMF will remain a steadfast partner to Sri Lanka. In a landmark decision, Sri Lanka's Supreme Court orders a bhikkhuni to be given her official religious designation as bhikkhuni on her NIC instead of Silmata, which is currently used. Uganda discovers over 31 million metric tons of gold ore valued at $12 trillion. Copenhagen, Denmark replaces Vienna as the most livable city in the world.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silico Life.
Welcome to Selico Life News Capsule. By market end of the 12th of June, the all-share price index surged to a record 17,661 points, signaling renewed domestic confidence even as foreign inflows remained cautious. As Sri Lanka's stock market continues in similar vein, outgoing chairman of the Colombo Stock Exchange, Dilshan Wirasekara, who took that seat when the nation and the market was in the doldrums, is on the show today, unpacking his transformative tenure and what's next for investors. You've been chairman of the CSC now for about 3 years.
That's right.
And you took over at a time where everything was very difficult in the country, from COVID into the economic crisis. How has your tenure been?
Challenging at times, but I must say very rewarding as well. I look back with a lot of pride and satisfaction. We've got quite a few things done over the last 3 years. So a great sense of satisfaction is what I would say.
What were your sentiments when you moved into 2025?
So I think we had a lot of problems back in 2025. The fact that the government has chosen to stay the course of the path of reform IMF program have been good on the market, but also we've strengthened the market in 3 aspects. One is the product diversification. So we were essentially a single product market. We've rolled out numerous new products, specifically on the fixed income side. The debt side, we've brought in sustainable bonds, we've brought in infrastructure bonds, we just issued the last sukuk, stock borrowing and lending, short selling. So a lot of product diversification has gone in, and that we've done. We've then looked at market infrastructure and developed market infrastructure. So we moved from T+3 to T+2. We'll be going live with the CCP, Central Counterparty System, on the 17th of July. So on the infrastructure side also, we've upped our game. And then the third aspect is the spread between broad basing the exchange, investors, issuers, increasing that whole space. We've had limited success, I must concede there. I would have liked to see more IPOs happening. I would have liked to see more new accounts being opened by investors. While we've had some success, I would say that that is maybe not up to my standard of what I would have liked to see, but nevertheless, on all of these three pillars, we've done a lot of work over the 3 years.
Going forward, what should investors be aware of and what should they bank on?
So just focus on fundamentals. I think at times when our market has sort of got overheated or whenever there's been high speculation, people have burned their fingers and we've had this boom and bust cycles that have taken place. However, this time around, the increase in our market cap is driven by fundamentally strong stocks. It's not speculative shares that are driving this resurgence or this boom. So I think as long as investors focus on fundamentals, you invest on value, you won't go wrong, and I think you'll make definitely good returns. Low interest rates are going to help that. So your alternative in fixed income today is single digit, whereas in your stock exchange, your expectations can be greater, and it's also more tax efficient asset. So your fixed income, you're taxed at 36% at the top bracket, your capital gain still is 0% tax, and dividend income is 15% final. So there is a distinct advantage for any investor investing in equity, and I think as long as that remains, you're probably going to have another good period.
Looking ahead, what's hot, what's not, what sectors are showing promise?
I think the banking sector, my personal favorite, is still very much undervalued. And looking at the credit expansion and the economic expansion that will happen, you would put your money that banks would do well this year, that they would grow their balance sheets, they'll be more profitable, their spreads will sort of retain. So banking sector is my personal favorite. But I think any manufacturing or consumer related business is going to do well because we are seeing consumer spending, the appetite coming back after maybe 5 years of a lull, that people are having more disposable income in their hands and more importantly willing to spend. The opening up of motor vehicles is one such area, so you'll see a whole boom of new vehicles coming, and that again translates to a lot of other economic activity that can take place. So I think manufacturing, consumer and banking and finance are my personal favorites.
And the markets over the week. After reaching all-time highs last week, profit-taking saw the all-share price index at the Colombo Stock Exchange dropping slightly. Just 1.5 months ago, on the 5th of May, oil prices plunged to their lowest levels in a year, dropping below $60 per barrel. But with the Middle East conflict escalating, prices are above $76 per barrel with no immediate signs of abatement. Gold prices remained firm at $3,400 per ounce as investors took cover in its safe haven status, even as the bombing war between Israel and Iran intensified. The Earth Photo 2025 competition has been concluded, and here are the best visual snapshots of what is happening to life on our planet. Long before he became a Pulitzer Prize winner for poetry, Gregory Pardlo was in the United States Marine Corps and he managed a jazz club. But those career paths soon changed when he got his BA from Rutgers University and a master's from Columbia, and now with a PhD in English, his award-winning poems have been published in the best of volumes and anthologies. A teaching fellow at Columbia and visiting associate professor at NYU Abu Dhabi, as chair of the jury of the Prize, that's the 32nd Gratian Prize, Gregory added multiple dimensions into Sri Lanka's most prestigious English Literature Prize. He joins me today on Kaleidoscope to discuss Sri Lankan literature in all its multiple layers. What has this year's journey been like? What has it revealed about the literary pulse of Sri Lanka?
I tried not to have any expectations coming in, but I am overall really impressed by how much the Gratian Prize itself is revered and how actively it sees itself as contributing to the literary culture. I think in a lot of places the literary prizes are seen as defenses against incursion, but the Gratian seems to be really welcoming and exploratory.
How does Sri Lanka's literature stand out uniquely to you?
I noticed there was, I think with all of the kind of spiritual and secular history here, there was an interesting way that the writers were drawing on everything from myth to spirituality to religion to kind of metaphysics, and there was a seamlessness between it. I think in the work that I'm kind of used to, or the literary culture I'm used to, there's an either-or kind of factor. And so I think this contributed to the surrealist quality of the work.
So Sri Lanka has multiple layers of language, identity. Did these complexities actually come out in any way?
English seemed to be a kind of third wheel in the relationship, right? And so there's Tamil and Sinhalese. When there were discussions of language, the work seemed to be more interested in the relationship between the two domestic languages. And English seemed to be a kind of a shared bucket that everyone had recourse to, but the energy seemed very much to be between the two.
So you've managed a jazz club.
Yes.
You've also been in the Marines. And then you went into writing poetry and writing per se. How has all this married into your work as you progress?
Well, certainly the sense of discipline. I don't think I could have held myself in a seat long enough to write even the shortest text. I was a kind of hyperactive kid growing up, and the military gave me a lot of a lot of backbone.
And the jazz gave you respite.
And the jazz gave me the permission to explore my imagination.
Coming from your background of writing, of literature, what parallels, what contrasts do you find with Sri Lankan storytelling?
You know what was surprising early on was in the US, I'll put it this way, in the US, it's kind of distasteful, if not frowned upon, because of our history of exploitation, to write in the voice of someone who's from a less privileged perspective. And I was really impressed with the sensitivity with which a lot of authors tried to bring in the voices without, sort of co-opting them of marginalized perspectives.
So if you were to recommend Sri Lankan literature to a global audience or global reader who doesn't know anything about it, what would you say is the strength or the calling card for Sri Lankan literature?
There's a way that Sri Lankan writers are thinking about the relationship to the text that is diasporic, that is cosmopolitan, that is seeing beyond the moment at hand.
At the intersection of vulnerability and resilience, silence speaks loudly. We visited PRSFG on Gaul Road last week for the debut solo exhibition by Manaram Gamage, and what we found was truly awe-inspiring. His is a powerful body of work, delving into how solitude leaves its mark, emotionally, psychologically and physically.
මම මේකේදී අරන් තේරෙන්නේ මිනිසුන්ට දැනෙන තනිකම හුදකලාව කියන එකේ තියෙන ගැඹුරු අදහසකින් තමයි මම වැඩ මේ මූර්ති ප්‍රදර්ශනය ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ. අපි තනි වෙලා ඉන්න වෙලාවට මොන වගේ හැඟීම් දැනීම්ද තියෙන්නේ අපි කල්පනා කරන ඒ ඉරියව් එහෙම අදහසක තමයි මම මේ වැඩේ ගෙනාවේ.
Blending sculpture and painting, the exhibition titled Depths of Silence explores the human figure not as an ideal but as a vessel shaped by experience.
මම කලර් එක විදියට ගත්තේ අඳුරු පැහැයන් මොකද අපේ තියෙන හැඟීම් වල තියෙන ගැඹුරු බව පෙන්වන්න.
Influenced by Rodin, but pushing into raw abstraction, Gamage offers us a visceral landscape where emotion and material meet. Now take a second and stop and smell the roses. We will be back next week.